Hi everybody, I'm going to paint a sunset beach rock painting today. That should be kind of fun. You can follow along with me, or you can just sit back and relax and listen to the piano music and enjoy. All right, I'm going to take my large flat tip brush, so it's kind of large here. I'm going to mix yellow and red together with a little bit of white. Add a little bit more white. I'm going to start putting that into my canvas here like this. I'm going to add a little bit more white to it. You can mix directly onto your canvas and it lightens up and it looks really, really nice. You can do that. If I can mix a little bit of that darker color that I have without the white, and I can blend that into the other color. When I touch the other colors, things smooth out and they get really, really nice looking. So just keep that in mind. I can add a little bit more red to it, just to get a little bit darker on the top. And again, touching the other colors so that you get a nice blend. And it looks something like that. And if you want, you can always get some, clouds and stuff in here. You can take a little bit of white. You can just brush in a little bit like that. Wipe off your brush. And you can just brush through it. Just get like a little cloud cover. You can go up. Nature is all things. It doesn't really matter how you do it, right? And if you want them more defined, you can add a little bit more white in a couple of areas. Again, you want to do this wet on wet, so when it's nice and wet, it blends. Otherwise it's too strong usually. Kind of going up in an angle. I have like a soft little thing going on in here. Makes it look like a little bit of cloud cover. Okay. I'm using titanium white, Mars black, chrome yellow, bright red, and phthalo blue. Phthalo blue is really great because if I add a little bit of yellow to it, I get turquoise. So I'm going to take my phthalo blue with a little bit of yellow. If it turns green, just add more blue to it. I'm going to add a little bit of white to it, and I'm going to paint that in. And again, I can go across and try to get kind of a straight line if I can. Take your time. Something like that. Come in, continue painting. Now in this painting, I know that my water is going to come down like this. We're going to have some rocks here, so some sand and stuff, so I'm going to kind of go like this. So I leave some room for some rocks. So I can just kind of fill this in. I can add a little bit of white. You want a lot of white near the shoreline, because there's a lot of whitewash with the water, so I'm going to just add a lot of white there. Just mix it with that teal color that you have. Add a little bit more color because I'm getting further out. So I'm going to add a little bit more of that teal color here. All right, I'm gonna rinse off my brush. I'm going to put the sand color. So we're at primary colors. We have to mix everything. You only have 5 colors. So yellow, red, the little bit of black. Get this nice dark brown. If you add some white to it, you can get a nice sand color. So again, I'm just going to put this in here like this. And again, kind of in like an awkward motion. I'm not trying to put it in a straight line. And then sand gets a little bit lighter as it gets further back, so I can add a little bit of white to that. When it's closer to the shore, you know, it's a little bit darker. You can already feel like a little bit of movement with the water and with the sand. Just rinsing up. Every time you see my hand kind of come across, that means I'm just rinsing up my brush. I've got a nice cup of water there, and again, I can play a little bit with the shoreline and, you know, put a little bit of white because I know the waves are crashing here, so I'll put a little bit of white here. And I can brush it back a little bit. Call it brush it back. I'm just putting it back into the water. Like this. It's really soft. Pressure matters too with the brush. So if you go really soft, you can get some nice, just soft brush strokes. If you go harder, you get more color. So if I go softer, I get less color. I can use that sand color too, like if I wanted like a little bit of a wave in here, I could use a little bit of that sand color coming in and kind of brush a little bit of that. A lot of times the ocean will kick up, you know, sand, so it's okay to have like a little bit of sand, you know, in your water. It's okay. It makes it look a little bit more natural. There's always like a little bit of sand coming in here. And then where I have the sand, where I have a little bit of contrast color, so it's a little bit darker, I'm going to take a little bit of white, and I'm just going to go over here like this and put a little wave over the top of it. Kind of flatten it out right here. And again, you know, I have kind of just brushed things back a little bit. If you didn't like something that was in your painting or whatever, you can always just take it, you can brush through it like this, and you can get rid of it really, really easily. A lot of times too, we'll use a darker color like a teal, that blue and green. A lot of times we'll go in here like this and we'll put a little bit of that in the water instead of the sand, and we can just take a little bit of a highlight over that and kind of get like a nice wave. And again, I just want things, you know, really soft. Out a little bit, so you can get like a little wave, you know, a little wave underneath. You can blend too if you don't want it too strong. You can have it really, really light. So if I like blend it in a little bit, so I still have some movement in the water. You know, it's just not, you know, crazy. I can have a little whitewash coming back in here, and I can leave a little bit of the teal in between. So it makes it look a little bit more natural when I have a little bit of the teal in between. So it's not oversaturated. See how I have a little bit of color like in between? Again, I feel like I've lost a little bit of my teal color in the back. So I'm going to just add a little bit of that back in. I feel like I lost a little bit of it. There, like that a little bit better. Again, I want just a little bit of movement. Coming back. A Lots of whitewash in the water, lots of whitewash. You can always put teal in between, so if you get too much saturation in here, you can always put your teal back in here like this. You can always add more color in between just to make it look a little bit more natural. So lots of different things you can do to change the painting around. Also, when you add a contrast color to your white, it makes the white pop a little bit. So you know you've got a nice blend in here. You've got some water. You've got, you know, some of your waves crashing on the shore. All right. I think we could do a little bit more with the sky. I think I'd like some puffy little clouds in there. I'm going to switch brushes. I'm going to use a smaller flat tip brush, something like this. And I'm just going to do some little wispy clouds in here like this. Again, just sort of letting the paint run off. So I let the paint run off. It's just very, very dry. It's just like basic, something that, you know, everybody can do that's not, you know, super, super challenging. Again, if you wanted that to pop a little bit, you could always put that original, that darker color in between. You can divide things up, you can change things, you can go into the cloud like that. You can switch whatever you want. The acrylic dries really, really fast, so it's just kind of nice. You can establish a light source too. For instance, I can add a little bit of yellow and white in here. You know, and I can add, just kind of establish a little bit of a light source. Put a little bit in my water. Make it kind of go up into the sky a little bit. Just kind of nice. You just have a little bit of a light source there. It's always nice to establish just a little bit of light. And again, you have a lot of movement in the water, so it's not going to reflect too much, but it's always nice to put a little bit in. I might wash some of that out. I mean, who knows? I don't know. So, all right, beach rocks. So, red, yellow, and black. It's that dark brown, right? Red, yellow, and black. I'm going to use this brush still. I call it my medium flat tip brush. Okay? I could put a rock in here. In the water, they have a tendency to be a little bit flatter. So you just want to make sure that it's pretty flat in the water. Okay. I'll do another one here. They don't look like much right now, but they will. Yellow, red, black, just mixing a little bit more. I'm going to have some on the shore here. Kind of a big one here. Just going up and down like this. And again, they don't look like much right now, but they will. This is what we're just putting in our darks, what I call our darks. Just putting in the dark parts. And then eventually we'll put in some other things too. Okay. We'll put in our highlights. I in here. Maybe it comes down at an angle, like so. And maybe I'll have another one in here like this. It's okay that it's mixing with my water, like that's all right. I don't mind that. I'm gonna have highlights on it anyway. I do want it to be a little bit darker than that, so I'm just gonna take a little bit of my darker color here, put that in. Got really dark. Okay. Mixing some red, yellow, and black. It's a lot of beach rocks. I think I'll have another one right in here. Oops. Okay. And I'm going to start to put my highlights on the top. I think I want a bigger one like in the corner just to frame it. I want some contrast. So I might have like one up in here. Or I could do like, you know, a little mountain or something, but I think I'm just gonna have a bigger one like up in here like this. Got it coming out. I could do a smaller one. They can go into each other. You know, they don't have to be separated, so they can go into each other like that. What separates them is the dark here, right? So if I wanted this to be one piece or I wanted it to be separated, maybe it's climbing on top of that, right? The dark is what separates all of these. This could come up in here, you know, and block this other rock. You kind of want that crisscross feel to things. It makes it nice. All right. Now we put our highlights. Take a little bit of light brown and add a lot of white to it. Add a lot of white to it so it gets really, really bright. And you can start to put some highlights in here. So I can go on this one if I wanted to keep this rock flat, right? I could just put highlights. You know, you don't want it even. Just put highlights like on the top. This one too. Just do like a little highlight on the top there, and it looks like a rock. This one too. Do some highlights on the top. The further you have it coming down, it just changes the shape of the rock. Usually on the top, the very top here, you have it covered, so you don't have black or darker showing, because it's usually lighter up in this part. I could decide to like lighten the back of it like this. Doesn't really make sense though, because kind of like the light source is here, but you know, you can do all kinds of things. You can just come down and make like a little cliff, keep it darker like at the top. Just want to make sure that you have that contrast at the bottom that separates it so that you can see the other rock in between too. And it can also have like dark parts like in between to make it look natural. Again, rocks are all things, so don't worry about like, you know, what they're doing, because I've seen rocks in, you know, every shape and in color imaginable. So just kind of like have fun with it. And again, I want to like clean up the edge here a little bit. In the water, they have a tendency to be a little bit darker, at the bottom, right here, when they're in the water, because the water's hitting it. And again, if I put some contrast below, where I have the highlight pops. See how that pops? Even though I may not love it, I just want to show you like what it can do. And I can take this, maybe it drips a little bit down on the sides. But again, at the bottom, when it's kind of like hitting the water, that's where you want it to be, the darkest. And again, this rock is dark here underneath, right? It's not going to be in a second, so I might want to add a little bit of a darker part to this rock here so that we can see this one. Because if I do highlights on this one right now, start to lose a little bit of it. So if I just put a little bit of contrast in here, just a little bit of a darker color, could be black, could be dark brown, whatever, you start to see the rock a little bit more. Just putting a little bit of contrast in there too. And this doesn't have to be so even. I feel like it's really even. So I'm just going to kind of mess with it a little bit and make it a little bit uneven. I'm going to take some of the highlight. I'm going to pull it down a little bit further. Maybe it's a little bit lighter back here. And again, a little more highlight. So I have some highlight here. Add a little bit more white to it. Got some highlight here. This rock. I can kind of like cut this rock in front of it. I can just change things to just make it kind of cool. Maybe this is a separate rock here. I'm just sort of looking at it and changing things. Maybe I have, like a rock underneath. Who knows? Doesn't really matter. What matters is that you feel kind of like what's happening and you can enjoy the process. I think that's the most important part. Again, I'm just gonna like bring this down a little bit, just make it a little bit more natural, not so contrived. This kind of looks like a fish or something. I love rocks. I paint rocks a lot. I'm a gallery artist too, so I paint a lot of rock stuff that goes into the gallery. Kind of want this rock to be a little bit slanted and come down. Maybe I want them into two, so I'm going to just separate them a little bit like this. Put a little bit of darker underneath here, like so. And then add that highlight. Woo! Lost my yellow. And again, it can go up into the rock too. Then it doesn't have to nothing has to be, you don't have to be separated. It's just kind of cool. They don't have to be separated. And they can have their own cracks and things. And here it could have like a crack here. You want them to have a little bit of character. Okay. And you can change up the colors. You can do light brown, you can do a little bit of yellow and white. So they don't all look the same. You can leave some of the color underneath if you want to do that, you can. Remember though, I really want to cover, the top of it, so I can leave the rest. And remember at the bottom, I want it to be a little bit darker down here, with a little bit more contrast down in here. Now the fun part with this is that, now you can play with the waves and splash around a little bit, make it kind of fun. So I'm going to take, you can use the same brush, medium flat tip brush is nice. Now I can go into my white now, and I can go around, some of these rocks in here like this. Got some waves in here. See how it has like a little bit of reflection? I can keep that too. I don't have to get rid of that. But it's pretty choppy where the water is like next to the rock. So I'm just going to add a little bit of whitewash, some waves. You can go up into the rock like this. Just be sure to like come back a little bit, around the rock. This is like hitting on the sand here. Again, different angles. When I do it, I just want to come back here. Looks like it's coming onto the sand a little bit. This one, it might have a little whitewash coming in here like this, hitting it. Kind of dabbing a little bit here. I'm going to switch to a bigger brush. I don't want much sand left over. I don't want a ton of sand left over, so I'm just going to kind of do this a little bit. The bigger brush gives me a little bit more solid coverage. You can see, get just a stronger brush stroke here. I've got that one wave that I established, before that I like. Adding a little bit more whitewash in here. If you lose any of your sand color, you can always mix more. So I've got red, yellow, a little bit of black, add a little bit of, if I wanted, some more sand like here where it wasn't reaching. If you put the sand directly underneath, your wave, it makes the shore kind of pop a little bit. So this would probably be wet sand in here, wet sand in here like this. Probably be a little bit wet back in here too. See how I'm kind of changing things up a little bit. And where the sand is wet, it's nice because you can do a little bit of reflection. You can play with reflection, in the sand, which is really nice. You can change the shape of the rocks too. Look, I can bring my sand in here, and I can go up into the rock, and I can change the shape of, makes it look like it's buried, in the sand. So you can change things too with the other color, so they look like the sand is really kind of like washing up in there. Now again, if you feel like your highlights are a little bit dull, we can make them a little bit brighter. See how it's like getting a little flat? You can make them a little bit brighter, like in certain parts. just by adding a little bit more white. A couple spots. These two rocks ended up being kind of cool. I like the shapes of them and that they're just a little bit different. They don't all have to be the same color, you know. And remember, if it's something you don't like if you don't like the shape, you can always put, you know, something a little bit darker in. Notice when I have the contrast underneath, though, here, you know, you really see the rocks underneath it. I'm just going to add a little bit more highlight in here. And again, just trying to change the shape to make it look a little bit more natural. And again, you know, this is for beginners. You know, it's not an advanced thing what we're doing. I'm just trying to show you like highlight, shadow, and introduce you to a few things. Again, like my shore could be, you know, I'm just going to make it pop a little bit more in here. Really like bring in some of that white here. It really just makes things pop, especially here. You know, pressure matters with the brush. So I'm just kind of going out in here, creating a little bit of texture out in here. Maybe it gets a little thinner as it goes out. As it's further away, you don't see it as much. So I got a little bit of that light source that I created earlier, which is kind of nice. So that's looking nice. But I think it's missing something. You know, I think it's nice, but I think it's missing something. Sometimes too, like the wave will crash. You know how you sort of see like the waves kind of come in like this with, you know, just a little bit where there's some space, you know, in between. Those always look nice too. So you have a little bit of sand in there. That looks nice. But I don't think it's enough. I think there's like something missing. So I think I might like do like a little sailboat. Or maybe, oh, you know, we could do some more rocks too. We could do some more rocks in the distance. Could be kind of fun. I think we've done a lot of rocks though. So I think I'll just do a little sailboat. So let me switch brushes here. I'm gonna get a smaller round brush like this. Smaller round brush like that. And originally I'm gonna go into a darker color. I'm gonna go into black. You know, I'm not gonna go like super crazy. I'll do it like maybe like here. I don't want it to be too close to the rocks. It looks like it's gonna crash, right? So I'll probably do it like over here. And I want the hull to be long enough. A lot of times what people do when they paint a boat is the hull of the boat is too fat and it just doesn't look good. So you just want to kind of make it, you know, just kind of basic, small, keep it nice and small. Something like that. You guys see that? Nice and small. And I'm going to go up. I'm going to do a sail. And I don't want the sail to touch the boat. It's going to float a little bit. So as I do this, watch. So I can go like this. We'll go up pretty high like this. Come down. Pressure matters, right? It's going to float like that. And it's going to come out. And then come around like this. So it floats a little bit above the boat like that. I'm going to fill that in. Now this is the mainsail, so it really should be a little bit bigger. So I can always take it and I can bring it out to like here, almost to the edge of the boat. Because it's the mainsail, it's a little bit bigger. Like that. See, it's not touching the boat. There's a little bit of light in there. You want that light. And then the next one, what's really key is that when I do the next line, watch how I fill it in. So I can touch the boat like this. I can come out like this. And I'll come down. And I'm going to leave a little bit of space. When I fill in, I'm not going to fill in at the top. I'm going to start to fill in lower. So I'm going to fill in. I'm not going to fill in all the way to the top because it'll get kind of fat, right? So I'm going to fill in here. Black. And then again, just leave a little bit of the tip, not filled in. And again, I can come down a little bit lower, but it's always nice to be too high up on the boat than to touch the boat, and all of a sudden, you've lost some of your light. So there's a little space in the middle, right? One smaller than the other. What's nice too is it can reflect a little bit of light from the sky. So if it did a little yellow, red, a little bit of white, and I brushed that through in here, just a little bit dark. Need a little bit more yellow, a little bit of white in there. So I can kind of brush through, give it a little bit of highlights like from the sun, the sunset. What's nice about the highlights is that if you get too much highlight and you don't like it, right? If I get too much highlight and I don't like it, I can always put my black back in. Let's give it a rim too, here. Give it like a little rim. Give it like a little rim on the boat there. Let's have a little rim on the hull of the boat, which is kind of nice. And again, if I want that orange to pop, I could just put a little bit of black in between it, make it look really kind of impressionist. Like that. The black will eat all the color up, so. And then to embed the boat in the water, because we want it embedded, right? You can rinse off your brush and just take a little bit of white, not all the way across the boat, take a little bit of white like this, go down like this, a little bit like this, right? Just putting a little bit of whitewash in there. So you've got some movement, so the boat gets embedded in the water. Otherwise the boat's kind of sitting, you're painting, it doesn't look very natural. One thing I noticed about the boat is it's not very pointy. It's not very pointy at the top. So I'm going to take a little bit of black and I'm just going to make this a little bit pointier at the top because I really want it to be a little sharper. See the difference there? Makes a lot of difference just making it a little pointier and a little sharper. It's kind of nice. All right, now to finish up here, just want to play a little bit more with the whitewash. I can do a little bit more highlights like with the rocks to make them a little bit, pop a little bit more. So you can always change the highlight there. Now I can use my small brush to do the detail, which is really nice. This is when we use like the straight white when we're going in. So like the highlight here, if I do red, yellow, and a little bit of black. But I leave a lot of red in it. If I leave a lot of red in it, when I do the highlight, I get like this red-brown color. Get like kind of like a red-brown. You can see this color is very different than the other colors. You can see how that's like a really different color. So you can have some that, you know, look a little bit, you know, different. Have some different colors on it. And again, if it gets too dark, you can add a little bit of white to it, kind of lighten it up. But it's nice to have like some different colors. This I can pull, you know, I can pull this rock down a little bit, and I can always add my contrast, you know, back in. My darker colors, I can always pull it in here like this and play around with it. I can put some, you know, dark at the top to kind of change the shape of the rock if I want. Looks like I kind of divided the rock here a little bit. Again, pop that highlight in. So now it kind of looks like it's two rocks. If I put some contrast in here, I put a little bit of contrast, like right in here, a little bit of black. You know, now it definitely looks like two rocks there. So you can play around with the rocks and just have a lot of fun. It's really, really fun to play. And, you know, rocks are all things, like I said, so they can just continue to change and be whatever you'd like them to be. You can put a little contrast under my highlight just to make it pop a little bit. These rocks are looking pretty cool. Put a little bit of contrast here. So it looks like the water is kind of crashing up, you know, into these rocks. You can sort of see how the water is uneven. So you want to keep things uneven. It's always nice to keep them uneven. And then this small brush, you can go straight into white, can do a lot of like really cool detail. I might want to do a little bit more in the clouds too. So you can take a little bit of your white, go like this, you can do like really nice little detailed lines so that it's a little bit whiter, makes it pop a little bit more. It's a little bit more precise. You can go in here. You can do things and just kind of raise the water line if you want. I'm going to go in here. Maybe that's coming up into the rock here. Maybe up in here a little bit. You know, if you want it to splash, you can always just do a couple of like little dots like this. And it makes it look like it's splashing. This one here. All right. Make it look like it's splashing a little bit. This one's pretty even, so I'm gonna splash a little bit in here. Okay. Lastly, with my medium flat tip brush, I'm going to just make my clouds a little bit more pronounced, and then I'm just going to do a couple birds in the sky, and that'll be it. So I'm going to take a little bit of white like this, and I'm going to wipe off my brush. This is called dry brush, and I'm just going to dry brush through. Just do a couple little clouds, really dry, like that. Now it really makes a difference just having a little bit like that. And then I can take my small brush, Small brush. You can go into black. You can add a little bit of water to the black if you want, just to thin it out just a little bit. And then wipe off your brush. You don't want too much paint on your brush. Wipe off your brush. You're just going to go really light. You're going to go like this. That's it. You have a couple birds there. And that's it. Everything's done. You can see the birds. So you can get a kind of a close-up and see the rocks, what's going on, the colors, the sand, the sailboat. Thanks for joining me today. I hope you relaxed or painted along with me. If you want to subscribe to the channel, please do. I'm going to be painting a lot. So I run the team building company and paint and sip company Stir Up the Paint in Seattle, Washington. So I will be painting a lot with you. If you'd like to join in again, just subscribe and we'll paint together. Thanks for joining me today. Have a great rest of your day.